This game could have gone sideways so many times. And where I want to give Dak credit, and where if you're a Cowboys fan, you have to have an odd sense of optimism surrounding this team right now, is after throwing that pick six, when 2 weeks ago he damn near gave away the Texans game with terrible interceptions. Last week, he did give away the Jags game with terrible interceptions. And then a couple days ago, with the whole country watching on Christmas Eve in the game of the week, he starts it off with a terrible interception. To respond to that by completing 14 straight passes, to respond to that by throwing for over 300 yards, getting his legs involved once again, looking like a young Dak, and completing that 3rd and 30 to ultimately beat the Philadelphia Eagles, gives you the real reason for optimism if you're a Cowboys fan, which is, hold on. Have you seen the NFC quarterback roster? Hell, look at the Pro Bowl roster, which was Jalen, deserved but injured right now, and then Geno Smith and Kirk Cousins. And you look at the potential playoff quarterbacks. It's those three guys, throw in a Daniel Jones, potentially Taylor Heineke or Carson Wentz, depending on who they're going to go to there. You've got, obviously, Tom Brady, who we'll discuss later in the show, but is for the first time in his career looking his age. And then you have Dak Prescott. Oh, yeah, and Brock Purdy, a rookie 7th rounder for the most talented roster in the league, but a rookie 7th rounder. And then you have Dak Prescott, 29 years old, coming off a season when they had the highest scoring offense in football. This year, with the offensive line finally getting healthy, with a defense that, while has been somewhat exposed over the last month, we know when it plays its A game, has top 5 in the league potential, and has a guy in Micah Parsons who's going to finish, I believe, 2nd in Defensive Player of the Year voting. I think Nicky Bosa, might have locked it up yesterday, and if he didn't lock it up yesterday, he probably should have. But you have top flight defenders at every single level. You are, oddly right now, one of the healthier teams in the conference. And you are the team that has been the conference juggernaut throughout the regular season. You've stared in the eye and hung 40 on them. And that is so for the Dallas Cowboys, this is their moment. We know they're going to be the 5 seed. We know they're going to be on the road in week 1, because I don't think they're going 2-0 and Philly's going 0-2 down the stretch and all of a sudden they steal the division. Just give them the 5 seed. They're on the road in week 1 of the playoffs, either facing Sam Darnold or facing what's left of the Tampa Bay Bucks. A good opportunity, by the way, for revenge against the Bucks, that week 1 19-3 embarrassing defeat. And then, in all likelihood, the following round, you are either going to Minnesota, a team you beat 40-3, or round 3 against Philadelphia. And I don't know how anyone who's being fair and honest about the Cowboys can't say this is their best chance to go on a deep playoff run, the best chance they've had since Dak's rookie season, when they got snake bit by what was at the time still a prime Aaron Rodgers in an all-time game. This is a team that's well documented, but has not been, forget a Super Bowl, to a conference championship game in more than a quarter century. The only teams in the conference with a longer conference championship game drought are the sad sack Lions and the embarrassing Washington Commanders, but previously not that team. The NFL Network is reported a bit ago. Nathaniel Hackett out as the Denver Broncos head coach. That should fix nothing. So, listen, Hackett was in over his head. You saw that in week 1, and then you saw it again in week 2. And then he actually did, I think, the savvy thing, which is recognize he's in over his head and bring in a guy to help him, do the head coaching part of decision making. So that's fine. But the reason Nathaniel Hackett is getting fired is not because he didn't understand clock management and situational coaching. The reason Nathaniel Hackett is getting fired is he is the first of what will be many casualties of the worst trade in NFL history. Couple firsts, couple seconds, 4 players for a quarterback who yesterday was clearly far and away the inferior quarterback in a matchup against Baker Mayfield. And listen, Colin, it's not nice to talk bad about people. Certainly not nice to talk bad about people who aren't here to defend themselves. So I'm not here to take shots at my dear friend, mentor, and the man whose name is on this show, Colin Cowherd. But if I were to tell him at the beginning of the year that on Christmas Day, Baker Mayfield on the Rams, because he got cut from the Panthers because he was so bad, was going to complete almost 90% of his passes. His team was going to score 50-plus points against his beloved Russell Wilson, who was going to start the game off with 2 picks on his first 3 pass attempts, have his worst game of the year that has had precisely 0 good games. I think he would have said, I'm lying to him. Instead, it happened, and the only shocking part of yesterday was that the Broncos' defense appears to have given up, which maybe is why Hackett got fired. If the team's just quit, might as well get rid of him now. You can get an early start on the head coaching search. But the idea that, now they can make a run at Sean Payton. Listen, I don't know Sean Payton the way Colin does. He's out in L.A. He's a colleague of ours. But because I'm in New York, I don't have a relationship with him. So I'm not speaking for Sean. But I would imagine Sean would want nothing to do with that situation in Denver. Nothing to do with it. It is an impossible contract for a terrible quarterback that also seems to be actively disliked by almost everyone that's worked with him. And at some point, and we'll talk more Tua later, we got to start listening to the teams around these quarterbacks. When it seemed like Seattle was okay with moving on from Russell Wilson, when it seems like Miami wanted to replace Tua, maybe they know something. And we are now in a position where this isn't because I'm a Baker guy, which I am. But what I'm about to say here is not because I'm a Baker guy. It's more because of what Russ has turned into. Over the next 5 years in this league, Baker Mayfield will be a more relevant player than Russell Wilson. I think Baker should probably stay in Los Angeles, back up Stafford for a year, and then see what the landscape looks a year from now. Maybe he gets in some of those games next year. Stafford's got some scary health stuff going on. He's had 3 games with McVay. 2 of them he's had legitimate moments. The first game was awesome at the end. Yesterday was awesome for him throughout. Meanwhile, the Broncos are just stuck. They're a team that went from 1973, I think it was, until 6 years ago, without back-to-back losing seasons. And now, over the last 6 years, the Jets, and the Jags have been the 3 worst teams in the AFC from a record perspective. But at least the Jets and the Jags have real reason for optimism. The Broncos are headed in the wrong direction. Traded all those draft picks, made such a big deal about what that team was going to be, and it's a total disaster. And right now, this very moment, if the Broncos could trade straight up Russ for Baker and be done with Russ's contract and just have Baker in a walk year, they'd trade another 3 draft picks to do that, but there's no way to get out of that deal.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.